Hi there. This video looks at the relationship between Gnosticism and magic. And by magic, I mean the sort of so-called higher magics, esoteric magic, esoteric tarot even. And I have my doubts about magic. Of course, I came into all this esotericism, mysticism, etc. I suppose through magic. So you could say that magic is a portal or a doorway to the spiritual level. But I still think that there is a level, we will call it the magical level. I call it the etheric level, which I'm not sure is accurate, or too many people would disagree with that. And there's a sort of level. So there's a level X, or one could say the level of transcendental magic, a level at which transcendental magic occurs. White magic, inspiring magic, uplifting magic, magic that changes consciousness in accordance with will, to use Dion Fortune's definition. But then there is the spiritual level, and then there is, I think, the abyss, to put it in Kabbalistic terms. There is the actual abyss between the spiritual level and the very, very high level where white magic operates, and esoterica operates, basically. And the reason maybe it's a good place to start, but not a good place to finish. That's really my point. You might start here, but you want to get up there. If getting up there and wanting is applicable to the spiritual realm, which that is disputable, really. What does wanting mean, and what does getting there or getting up there actually mean? Because this sphere, the spiritual sphere, is also the sphere of non-dualism. Whereas the etheric level, or the level at which transcendental magic occurs, is still in the realm of dualism, of the dialectic. So it's still dualistic. So I can only describe things and talk about things from this level of dualism, which means that this entire video is flawed from the get-go, really. But nevertheless, interestingly enough, if this is the coal bunker full of black coal, and even the etheric level is the coal bunker, it's possible to find the one nugget of gold whose energy will propel you into the spiritual level through some kind of meditation, some kind of deep meditation or deep trance. But at the same time, the etheric level, or the transcendental magical level, is a golden palace. And in that golden palace, there is a piece of coal, a large piece of coal, which upsets the entire place, which upsets one's desire to stay in this golden palace, because, you know, like the princess and the pea, you know, there may be layers and layers of beautiful soft feather mattresses, and yet the princess can still feel the pea below her and can't get to sleep at night because of the pea being there. And of course it's an enchanted bed, I know, but there we are. So the golden palace, if you like, is tarnished by coal dust, really, which is a better analogy, I suppose. But also the coal bunker outside the golden palace has this golden nugget or nuggets within it, which you have to find by rummaging about in the black coal. Now, this would also assume that it's possible to kind of make everything esoteric and everything transcendental. But at the level of duality, even at this very high level, in quotation marks, it is possible that the sort of yin-yang relationship will apply. So in other words, the seed of one thing is contained within the manifestation of the other. So if you can imagine, this is, I can't draw it really. Can't this is the black section, and there's a white dot in it, and this is the white section. There's a black dot in it, and this is the line that divides the two. But it's still the same, two sides of the same coin, which is duality. And if we're going to look at white magic versus black magic, then we are talking sort of Star Wars with lightsabers and things like that, and stormtroopers and all the whole thing of the triple trilogy of Star Wars, which isn't spiritual. It's not, because it isn't a fight. It's not a war. It's only a war at this particular level, and we're going below at the etheric, transcendental level here. We're below the Golden Palace at this point when we start, rattling lightsabers and shooting at each other with laser guns and things like that, and so on and so forth. And also, within white magic, it is possible to have corruption, but also, strange as it may seem, strange good things can come out of a corrupt situation or a black situation. But this is all part of the dualistic worlds. This is all part of the world of the demiurge, because all polar opposites pertain to the world of the demiurge. And we don't want to stay here. We want to find the way out. We want to find the way from this level through the abyss, or across the abyss to the spiritual level. So we need to look, we need to not be distracted even by the miracles and the miraculous that happens at the highest level. Even though the Golden Palace is beautiful and golden, and miraculous things happen, and it's even possible to see angels and even a vision of Christ himself, and possibly even the Grail itself, the vision of the Grail unveiled, could be part of this lower world of duality. Because you've got a veiled Grail and you've got an unveiled Grail, and there you have duality right there, you see. Whereas we want to go really, really beyond the veil of the abyss, see. And I know it might be very Protestant of me and demanding of me to insist that something is incredibly simple and we should look for incredible simplicity and one panacea or one solution. Because it could be, you see, that in this Golden Palace, in this etheric level, this transcendental, magical level, there are many portals, there are many mansions, there are many rooms in the house, in this mansion. In my mansion, there are many rooms, and each one of these rooms could be a place where an individual finds the portal that will propel them across the abyss and into the spiritual level. So, I'm not saying that, there's one panacea or one method which is going to suit everybody. So perhaps there are various methods or hundreds of methods, or a method for every individual in this Golden Palace that's going to take them from duality to non-duality. But at the same time, I think that if there is a solution, it's going to be an incredibly simple one, applying Occam's razor to the problem, whereby you look for the simplest explanation for any phenomena, rather than building up some complex metaphysics to explain it. And so if there's going to be a simple existential solution to the problem of existence in the lower worlds and the worlds of the demiurge, it's going to be incredibly simple, and have what they call predictive validity. In other words, if you do it 100 times, it's going to work 100 times. And not only that, it also has, if person in China does this method, it's going to work. And if somebody who doesn't even know the person in China does the same method, and he lives in Venezuela, he's going to experience the same projection across the abyss. So it has independent validity as well. So we are talking about a sort of almost an empirical model here of simplicity and universal application, but probably the application will be modified according to the individual. So at the same time as it's a sort of universal panacea, the person has to take this universal panacea in quotes and use it and apply it to their own life situation and their own personality, and to work with what they've got effectively, in order to attain spirituality, and basically not to go around looking for more and more things and more methods, but try to stick to one method and perfect that method rather than just keep chopping and changing. On the other hand, it could be that if things happen spontaneously within your life, it could be that, and you change over your life, you could find that some methods that worked for you when you were young don't work now, and some methods which didn't work when you were young work now that you're older, and have changed over time. And I think that's a very, very important factor to bear in mind if indeed you're planning a long life, or hopefully you do have a long life, if you don't get into drugs and crazy stuff like that. If you stay away from drugs, you probably will lead a reasonably long life, and then you will see that these methods do change over time. So I don't know whether I've come to much of a conclusion, really, over the relationship between magic and Gnosticism. Gnosticism is transcendental. It does look for the spiritual level. It doesn't necessarily look to transcend, ironically enough, to try to esotericize, if that's a word, to make esoteric everything that's on the etheric level, in the level of duality, no matter how high that. You see, it's like the etheric level is kind of almost there, but it's not there. It's like you're nearly at the top of Mount Everest, but you're not quite. And I mean, you could still fall, and of course you could fall a long way because you're nearly at the summit of the mountain. So actually you're more vulnerable. You're more in a dangerous, spot. You're like Hillary's step, in the famous K2 mountain. Well, actually, it's not actually K2. I've totally forgotten my mountains. I can't get Kilimanjaro out of my head, and it's not that one. And I can't get K2 out of my head, so I can't remember. But anyway, it's like you're almost at the top of this mountain, and you could fall further than somebody obviously at the bottom of the mountain. But having said that, when we're talking about Everest, which is the mountain I actually suddenly now remember, there are a lot of extremely dangerous sections to Everest, actually starting from the base camp area, extremely dangerous, hazardous areas. And that's not even at base camp, base camp one. So that would so at the more dualistic levels of consciousness, there are extremely dangerous things waiting for you. On the other hand, even before you get to the summit, there's great danger further on up the mountain. So I hope I haven't confused you with that analogy too much. Anyway, so I think I'm sort of cautiously optimistic about transcendental magic, and taking the tarot, for example, making it esoteric rather than mundane. But there is a caution attached to this optimism as well, because the snares might be more subtle at this high level of dualism, if I want to put it like that. The sin of pride might be more possible at this very high level of consciousness, and that sin of pride will, of course, drag you right down or possibly drag you right down to the bottom of the mountain again. Do you know what I mean? So be on your guard. Realize that consciousness is a fragile thing, as life itself is a fragile thing, material life, I mean. And bear all this in mind when you're looking for a relationship between your own self, which is transcendental, your own soul, and so-called transcendental magic. Thank you very much for listening.